Good morning, YouTube. Well, it probably won't be morning by the time you see this. We got a heavy dump of snow over the last couple of days, as you can see. And I can barely step out the back door of the shop here. I was going to come outside and go to the backyard and make a video, and I'm kind of trapped in this spot. I've got a few minutes possibly before the next customer shows up. So I thought I'd see if I could make a quick video and just sort of give my response to some of the responses that were left on my last video that I uploaded, which was actually from Christmas time. I'd forgotten that I had recorded it, and I went ahead and uploaded it yesterday. And it was about the John the Other video as a response to this young lady who'd made a video basically asking men to walk a mile in a woman's shoes so they could understand what it's like for them. And I've had some interesting comments on there, and I think there is an interesting discussion that we can have here. I wanted to respond mainly to a couple, and if I get a chance, I'll go through more of them and respond, because I think this is an interesting dialogue that can be had. I wanted to respond to Wendy Canuck and also the Bewildered Ape and a discussion that he's been having with Paranor001, which is kind of interesting as well. To Wendy Canuck, I did just want to say, I have done quite a bit of research into feminism, and I think I'm quite open-minded on the subject. For me, it becomes a matter of reasonableness and ideology. Better put, ideologues, right? And so this is why I reject the term feminism. And no offense to you, because it would appear to me that you are a non-ideologue, non-radical feminist, and I think there's obviously a massive distinction to be made there. For me, modern radical feminism, in other words, modern feminism, is not a reasonable ideology anymore. And I think I'm going to make a video on reasonableness in the future and talk a little bit about why I think that's true. Cat out of the bag, we could just say, something simple like feminists telling men's rights advocates that they advocate for men's rights too, so men's rights advocacy shouldn't exist, they should all just be feminists. So someone saying something like, my body, my choice, telling another human being that they don't have the choice to use their body in the way that they deem fit, i.e. campaign for men's rights or something like that, is not really all that reasonable. And, telling other people what they should do rather than asking them to consider certain other things that they may want to advocate for. This really aggressive ideology is something that I reject. Telling other people what they should do while you're advocating for rights, human rights. Interesting. Anyway, but I'd actually even like to delve into Wendy Canuck's comment a little bit further. Hopefully I'll get a chance to do that another time. Bewildered Ape said something about me being a white male supremacist, and that my video was essentially a creepy old white guy telling this young girl that she shouldn't be complaining about other creepy old white guys. I haven't been called an old guy really almost ever. Now it could be because I'm sporting the gray beard and the gray coif here. Quite often I'm told I look young for my age, but that's usually when I've got the 3/8" buzz cut in the summer and I'm clean shaven. So I guess I'll have to take the label. Anyway, and self-admittedly, the Bewildered Ape had not watched her video, just was basically commenting on mine, and said that basically I was doing what she did, that I was not walking a mile in her shoes and I was just complaining about what she was saying. And it got a little heated between that user and Paranor001. I was going to say he, but I don't know that the Bewildered Ape is a he or a she. And all I would say is, if you watch my video, the one thing you will notice is that I question John the Other's assessment, that it's a classist argument that he's making, that she didn't like the advances of this, potential advances of this old white guy, or creepy old guy, I guess. We don't know. I'm not sure that he's white, because she sees him as below her caste. And I'm not sure that that's the case. And I mentioned the fact that I have a 20-something-year-old daughter, who has expressed concerns and fear, really, is more the issue here, about being approached by men in maybe less than secure circumstances, right? Walking down the street and having someone kind of try to get to know her, and she lets him know that she's busy and she's not interested, and he continues to follow her. Yeah, I didn't elaborate this much in the video, but I'm elaborating now. And sort of just says, hey, I just want to get to know you, and ends up following her into a liquor store and joking with the guy at the liquor store counter that, she's afraid I'm going to rape her, I guess, ha ha ha. And so I said that at the beginning of the video, not all that, but I just said that I have a 20-something-year-old daughter who's expressed to me concerns about being followed by men and followed into a liquor store and that sort of thing. So essentially I was trying to walk a mile in her shoes a little bit there, in questioning John the Other's assessment of her reasoning behind not liking this guy trying to approach her in any form or fashion. The other thing I would suggest is, there's a first cause here. So the point that I made in the video is anybody who's saying that I should walk a mile in their shoes without considering my experience first, without sort of laying a little bit of a groundwork. I mean, this is kind of, I think this is just general reasonableness once again. If you're going to suggest, I mean, it's very self-centered. He called me a self-centered asshole in his comment as well, he or she. It's quite self-centered, though, to stand there and myopically saying, you should all walk a mile in my shoes without expressing any sentiment that you are having any consideration for their experience. And so, my answer to that would be she kind of did it first, right? I would be happy to walk a mile in her shoes if she had laid any of that kind of groundwork to say, listen, I understand that this guy is 70-something years old and has a lived experience and has probably contributed to society. And, she didn't make any mention of whether she might think that he would have a daughter or just anything, or even generalizing, right? Not his experience, but men's experience or anybody else's experience. I didn't get the sense from her video that she had any sensibility about anyone else's experience. Now, several people have said that she's made a follow-up video, and I haven't seen that, so definitely I'll watch that. I'm hoping that most of you who've been on my channel for quite some time will recognize that I try to be reasonable. If there's anything that needs to be corrected, I will correct it. If she has tempered her stance on things based on some of the responses she's gotten, that's an excellent sign, and I would be more than happy to even make a direct response video to her own video, if need be, to give her some support for her recognition of maybe some errors, ways that she was in error, and that gives me the opportunity to then be a little bit more, sensitive to her position or her feelings about these things. I mean, I do have a sense for what it might be like for a young attractive woman to be hit on constantly. And I think it was the Space Frog who sort of said, thought experiment here. I'm all for gay rights, but if a gay person was, constantly, if I was hit on by a gay guy, it might be, licking his lips or poking his tongue through his cheek or something like that. It might be funny the first couple of times, but after a while, I'm starting a fucking movement. It would get to be quite old. And I have done that thought experiment, and I've thought of that, and I thought, it also reminds me in some ways of when I've gone to Vancouver, and I've been on the downtown east side there, and I've been asked constantly if I know what time it is, or more openly and aggressively hit on by clearly gay men, or asked constantly if I would like to buy any drugs. And, my response to that would be, it might be unfortunate. It might be a body language thing. It might be part of how you're presenting yourself. And I'm not talking about clothing. I'm not giving the quote unquote, rape apologist line about somebody deserving something. But we all know that we subconsciously do portray ourselves and carry ourselves a certain way, and that can sometimes lead to people approaching us in a certain manner. This can be occupational, it can be just walking around downtown and that sort of thing. And my conclusion to that really is, yes, we need to appeal to people to be more respectful of one another, and I think that there are many ways we can do that. That might be a discussion we can have in the future, but ultimately, we don't get to control other people, and existing in a social environment sometimes mean we've got to deal with things that we don't really that much like, and sometimes that means we may need to avoid certain situations if we don't like the way we're approached by certain people, and it may mean that we need to be more aggressive and assertive. It may mean that we need to make YouTube videos and say, hey people, you got to be more sensitive to other people's needs and wishes and that sort of thing. But ultimately I can't control if other people are attracted to me, and I can't control ultimately the way in which they make that known. What I can ask, of course, is to not be for it not sort of go to the level of harassment, and I can certainly demand that it not go to the level of any kind of physical harm or concern for my physical safety, that sort of thing, right? So ultimately, I think it is an interesting conversation, and I've watched a lot of videos, I've done a lot of research, and spent a lot of time thinking about the topic. And I think it's healthy that, in some respects, that I have a daughter who is attractive, who is young, who has made a lot of these points to me, because it keeps me a little bit more honest, probably. The other thing I will say, nutshell, I am willing to walk a mile in other people's shoes. My video was a response to her asserting that without saying that, she's got any, or even indicating that she's got any clue what anyone else's experience might be, or that she even cares. Now, one last thing I did want to say, Geo Angle had posted something about, it's how you make the approach. I'm just recently a senior citizen, he said, and obviously, there's flirtation that can be had between older men and younger women. If it's done, I think he was sort of generally saying if it's done sensitively and respectfully and classy, and that's an interesting discussion, I think, as well, because I think quite often this is a class of people, or a group of people, senior men, who are unfairly demonized a little bit for having a natural attraction to attractive women, whether they be younger or older. And I've even experienced this a little bit. Not often called old again, but I was going to make a video quite a while ago. It's been over a year now, about vulnerability, and I actually recorded the video, never uploaded it, and I related an experience that I'd had with someone who I would have otherwise considered a friend. She's a woman, a former coworker, who has expressed in the past that she's got a great affection for me as a human being. And I had just posted one day on Facebook, my personal Facebook, an appreciation for the beauty of Hayden Panettiere, the young actress. And what had happened was I'd gotten caught up in watching the episodes of Heroes, I think was the show that she was on, that I was watching at the time. I'd done the Netflix, watch like 2 seasons in a weekend. And I was really taken by her beauty. Her eyes really captivated me. And I'm in a fairly open relationship with my wife, not open, but open where, I don't have an issue expressing my appreciation for female beauty in front of her, and nor does she, if she finds a particular guy attractive or that sort of thing. And I'd mentioned Hayden to my wife, and she... Well, I'm jumping ahead. So I had just mentioned something about her beauty on Facebook, and this former coworker, friend, had commented about something about being a dirty old man, and it really affected me. I can feel actually the emotion coming back right now. I was really hurt. I was actually deeply hurt, because I was expressing. I was really actually being vulnerable in that moment, expressing an appreciation for the beauty of this young woman, and to be hit with this label of dirty old man really, really, really hurt. And the interesting thing was, I wasn't even speaking, I wasn't thinking sexually even at that point. I was really captivated by her face, her eyes, and her beauty. And in fact, it was my wife who had said to me, she's got a nice little body on her, and I hadn't even gotten that far. And of course, then I did get that far, and yeah, sure, she does. It really affected me that my sentiment was taken so far beyond, and then the label thrust upon me of dirty old man. And I deleted all the comments on that original post on my Facebook, which I don't really do normally. And I got a letter, a personal message from this woman, private message on Facebook. I think she realized it when she saw a couple other people had commented, and an exchange took place, but I didn't really get involved in that exchange. I was too hurt. And she sensed that once she saw me delete everything. And she just said, "I'm sorry if I offended you." And I just responded, and I just said, like, in what world is it safe for a guy to, I think, respectfully, sorry, I just had a notification come up. In what world is it okay for a guy to respectfully express his appreciation for the beauty of a celebrity? I mean, it's not like I was harassing a woman on the street, right? This is someone who puts herself out there, who wants to be known, who wants to be appreciated, clearly, who does glamour shots, glamour photos, etc., etc. In what world is it going to be okay for me to do that without being labeled a dirty old man? And I think that's a discussion that should be had. And I think if we're asking men to be, talking about walking a mile in someone's shoes, if we're asking men to be sensitive and respectful in how they approach women, I think it's important that we recognize and respect and be sensitive to the fact that that men are attracted to beauty, and that in some ways it's not okay to express that this is a natural and genuine a drive within men that it's not socially acceptable to really express, unless of course, and I would say that John the Other may be possibly onto something there, unless of course you happen to be in that right category, physically attractive yourself, or of the right socioeconomic status or something like that. And so that's just something else I wanted to put out there, because we are talking about someone who is, from the sounds of the original video poster's video, a senior citizen. And even if he was physically attracted to her, getting back to Geo Engel's comment, what is the sensitive and respectful and, sort of reasonable way for him to express that, if at all? And what are we saying to men about their natural attractions and desires when we just sort of resort to, right away calling them a dirty old man or creepy old guy or something like that? In any case, I better get back to work. I'm sure that my customer is going to be here any moment. So thanks for commenting on that video, and for what I think is probably going to be an upcoming discussion. And hopefully maybe if I can trim the beard soon and get a haircut, I won't look like quite such a creepy old guy. Thanks for watching.